Guys, just a month ago, we had the PlayStation reveal. And in that reveal, we got to see the game Marathon for the very first time. Or at least Bungie's newest version of Marathon. We also got to see Destiny and what appears to be the return of Cade. But during that reveal, a lot of questions popped up in our heads. And one of those questions was, what the hell is Matter? Guys, today we're going to be diving into all of the speculation surrounding Marathon, Matter, and Destiny. We'll also be covering an article posted by IGN, which is essentially what sent everybody into a frenzy. Now, according to the article by Logan Plant, Microsoft expects a brand new IP from Destiny and Marathon developer Bungie to release in 2025. Now, for those who remember, Matter was actually trademarked back in 2018, which Microsoft believes to be Bungie's next original IP. Now, looking at like the color palette and everything, that was my thought, guys. I honestly was like, yo, Marathon is Matter. I mean, look at the colors. Turns out though, no, it's not. In an article posted last year from the Game Post, some light was actually shed on a project codenamed Goliath. According to the Game Post, Bungie seemed to be working on a new unannounced Destiny project with the codename Goliath, as per the job list posting on the company LinkedIn's page. Now, the article goes on stating that the job listing is for an unannounced game principal producer who will foster an understanding of Goliath goals and vision across your teams. However, shortly after that job listing for Project Goliath went live, Bungie updated the title to principal producer, unannounced project. Now, in the community, we initially speculated that Goliath was the code name for Destiny 2's expansion, The Final Shape. We also know that Bungie announced a conference in 2019 that they were working on 2 games, Matter and an undisclosed IP. Now, we now know that that undisclosed IP is the upcoming Marathon extraction shooter, revealed during the PlayStation Showcase just a month ago, which is stated to release sometime in 2024. Now, to further increase the divide between Matter and Marathon, an article posted in December of 2022 by GameRant revealed some staggering information about Matter, including some never-before-seen concept art that is speculated to belong to the new IP that was used in a Bungie recruitment video. The GameRant article states, in a recruitment video released earlier this year, 2 pieces of concept art for an unannounced game were seen briefly as Bungie's engineering director Luke Timmons spoke about the mechanics of creating new worlds. Now, this art features things like airships, floating cities, and a more whimsical art style, art that is far from the new age retro sci-fi of Marathon. Now, some of this can be viewed right now. If you run over to careers.bungie.com/incubation, you can view it right here. This page serves as a way to recruit any potential visitors onto their teams for Bungie's upcoming games. But if you look in the background, you can see some of the same concept art featuring a number of colorful characters and that familiar piece of art seen before depicting a civilization of what appears to be floating airships. What is this, Final Fantasy? Now, additionally, in a job posting for Matter, Bungie was looking for a candidate with previous experience working on character-focused action games with the goal of creating moments focused on team play. And after analyzing the description of the job posting, GamerRant goes on to say that the job's posting stipulations definitely align with hero shooters, a genre where players have access to different weapons and abilities depending on what character they are playing, with a heavy emphasis on team members coordinating and playing strategically together. Now, keep in mind, guys, the newly announced Marathon is confirmed to be a loot extraction shooter, definitely not a hero shooter. On top of that, Bungie confirmed a number of times that they are looking at a 2025 release window for one of its new IPs. Marathon is slated to release in 2024. Now, looking at another article, this one posted by Tom Warren from The Verge, it appears Microsoft actually had an interest in reacquiring Bungie all along. And we saw this like flirtation happening leading up to the 30th anniversary event. Microsoft and Bungie on Twitter were getting pretty chummy with each other. Now, granted, Microsoft has pretty much been in acquisition mode across the board. And in that same article, Tom mentions that Microsoft was interested in studios like Sega, IO Interactive, and numerous mobile game developers like Thunderful, Supergiant Games, Niantic, Playrix, and Zynga. This was found from an internal document from the ongoing FTC versus Microsoft hearing, which, by the way, at some point we have got to cover. It's this whole like Activision, Microsoft acquisition, it's getting blocked left and right. It's actually nuts. Now, we saw in an email from Phil Spencer requesting strategy approval to approach Sega in acquiring their gaming division, and we also see another document, which is from a Microsoft internal merger review document from back back in April 2021, where along with these studios mentioned, Bungie was also listed there as a company that Microsoft was seriously looking at acquiring. Now we see a screenshot here naming Bungie's key asset to Microsoft being a top-tier AAA first-person shooter developer and publisher with a proven track record of creating new long-lasting franchises, Halo and Destiny. And for the last 7+ years, this company had established a strong foundation in live ops with Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 through in-game updates and DLC. Now the acquisition of Bungie would include securing valuable IP, that being of course Destiny, and its community, and integration of its developer and live ops infrastructure into XGS, Xbox Game Studios. Now acquisition also suggests a major carry in momentum as we continue to position Xbox and Game Pass as the preferred platform for gamers worldwide. And it was stated that notable IP ownership, Destiny, and Marathon. Now Microsoft also noted here some of the risks though of acquiring Bungie, which is really interesting. It stated that in 2018, NetEase invested $100 million in exchange for a minority stake in the company and a seat on the company's board of directors. And it was also stated that the company is known for its high burn rates. Now, for those that don't know, burn rate is essentially how fast a company spends their money. If a company has too high of a burn rate, they run the risk of going bankrupt. Although in Bungie's case, these statements were based in 2020 and 2021. Now, I'm not exactly sure what all falls into this burn rate. I do know that Bungie had to buy themselves out or buy Destiny out from Activision. Not sure if like that number was included into that, which of course would heavily inflate that burn rates. But keep in mind, we had COVID going on. Bungie was still making Beyond Light, but people were working remotely. At the same time, Bungie was also working on opening a new location. They were clearly working on Marathon at this time and still expanding their team. Now we don't know all the details why this deal didn't go through, but it's interesting that high burn rate is being associated here with Bungie. And I do gotta wonder, like, what is the internal finances happening at Bungie? Because we hear statements from Bungie all the time, comments like new maps are too expensive to make. Blows my mind because Bungie, your game is kind of expensive as well. What I will say in the past though, this was a rub with Activision and Bungie. Now, depending on that rate, this could have actually been the reason why Microsoft didn't acquire Bungie, which is crazy. At the same time, I personally feel like Bungie leveraged the potential deal there with Microsoft to get old Sony to finally wave at them. And oh, did they wave big time. I'm not saying Bungie isn't worth $3.6 billion, but that's a lot of cheddar. Like way more cheddar than what Bungie had to pay to get the rights to Destiny. So there's a lot of promises there, which is why in our monetization video, guys, I don't think things are gonna get better. You gotta understand, Bungie has to continue meeting certain yearly goals. And I know this because I saw this play out with Activision. Activision was upset because they said Forsaken didn't quite hit the mark for them. What it really boils down to was that Forsaken, including that entire year, was an expensive year. Black Armory, Season of Menagerie, the Forsaken expansion itself, even Season the Gambits. Guys, we had a load of content that year. It was nuts, and it was a great time to be gaming in Destiny. However, unfortunately, Bungie has stated since then that they will probably not ever be able to match that level of content. So again, it wasn't like Forsaken didn't sell good, it just didn't have the profit margins that Activision approve of. At the same time, I think Sony made this deal to acquire Bungie, not necessarily for Bungie itself, but to just make sure Bungie, as well as Destiny, doesn't suddenly become an exclusive for Xbox. And believe me, it can happen. Jesus, look at Bethesda. Now, last thing to note here, and this could be reaching, but notable IPs noted Destiny and Marathon. Destiny obviously being their flagship IP, but the Marathon part was interesting to me. Yes, this was an old IP of Bungie's, but we haven't seen a Marathon game since the mid-90s, and I wouldn't say Marathon is even that notable. Granted, I get it. I've got some old school gamers in here right now calling me crazy saying Marathon was the best game ever. But dude, I was like 3 years old when it came out. So of course, I haven't played it, but I have heard a lot of people talk really good about this game, which I'm actually excited for. However, I do have to point my attention at the Destiny community right now because that's the game we've been covering for years. And the concern here is that Destiny 2 is not getting the proper attention because its development force is being split between two different games, that being Marathon and Destiny. Well, let me just say this. First up, that is true. Developers that were originally working on Destiny have moved to Marathon. Dude, look no further than Kevin Yanis. He literally has on his profile right now that he's a senior design lead at Bungie, currently working on Marathon the game. And after Marathon was released, you saw these updates across the board for a lot of different Bungie devs, Christopher Barrett included. And again, these were people that were making Destiny content at one time. Christopher Barrett and that entire team made Rise of Iron and Forsaken. And I'm pretty sure right after Forsaken, Christopher and his entire team moved to Marathon. I think Marathon is has been in the works for quite some time. Kevin Giannis, though, didn't move until this year. He had still been working on Destiny. Kevin was part of the team that spearheaded all of our 3.0 subclasses, but even way back before that, Kevin did a lot of reworks, like Icarus Dash on Dawnblade. That was him. So I know I get comments all the time saying, dude, Cross, you're overreacting. Bungie has not split their team. They've got plenty of people working on Destiny. Look, I'm just saying, key players have left Destiny to work on Marathon. That's not to say that the people that are still working on Destiny can't still bang out. I'm hoping they can. And I can tell you right now, if Final Shape doesn't bang, oh boy, that's not good. The last thing you want before you start pitching new IPs and new games is for your flagship game to go in the shitter. No, what this really points to is that Marathon is a separate game, which means if you're excited for upcoming contents from Bungie in regards to new games, that's great. Matter most definitely seems to be its own project. However, this also means that Bungie is now split working on 3 different games. That's a lot. 2 of which they have to push out relatively soon. 1 in 2024 and 1 in 2025. And look, I want to actually take this a step further to kind of give some confirmation here about why I think Matter is in fact a completely separate game. You can actually go to some of the people at Bungie and see that their profiles don't say Marathon or Destiny. Matter of fact, if you go to Tomo right now, which by the way, don't go harass him or anything, he also announced that he was moving to another project right after Lightfall launch. But notice his says working on an unannounced project and not Marathon. Now granted, maybe he just didn't update it. Maybe he is in fact working on Marathon, but more than likely it's Matter. Now, I want to circle back around here to talk about the possibility of Matter being Destiny 3. Guys, I don't think it is. Matter of fact, the more and more I read and the more I see on this, the more I definitely believe these are all 3 very different games. And secondly, if you are sitting there hoping for a Destiny 3 anytime soon, I don't think it's gonna happen. And I know you're probably looking at Destiny 2 servers right now going, Cross, for the love of God, this ship has way too many holes. How can Bungie keep patching this shit? And I agree, but Bungie is going to keep putting duct tape all over this thing for as long as they can, until literally the game breaks. And I know we've definitely already approached moments where we feel like the game has broken. This year has been the worst year ever. I'm not being dramatic. I have never seen overall game stability be this bad in Destiny, both in Destiny 1 and in Destiny 2. I would love to be able to say, guys, don't worry, Destiny 3 is on the horizon, or a Destiny 2 overhaul is on the horizon, which by the way could work. You know, you saw Final Fantasy 14 and Realm Reborn. That game came out and it was awful. The base version of Final Fantasy 14 was so bad, they had to scrap the entire thing and relaunch it with the Realm Reborn. But let me just say this. Since then, that game has been going strong. I would love it for Destiny 2 to get that treatment. But the reality is, Bungie has too many people within their studio working on too many other things. And in my opinion, people are gonna say I'm being dramatic about this, but I believe Destiny 2 is on the back burner. Again, time will tell. And in August, we're actually going to see the reveal of the Final Shape, and most notably, what is going to occur in Destiny post Final Shape, which actually interests me more than the Final Shape expansion itself. Like, narratively, where the hell do we go from here? Either way it goes, guys, if you're interested in any of these articles, we will link them down below. Big shout out to all the news sources covering these topics. And if you have any speculations yourself, or maybe you just happen to be a guy on the inside, hey man, hit me up. You should come by my Twitch, slide in my DMs, let me know some juicy stuff. I would love to chat. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.